welcome Ridgefield and Wilton. This is really exciting. For those of you who don't know, this is Ann Nuns, who is the head of the Wilton chapter. And she's going to just kind of take us through today. All right?
Thank you, Mrs. Cardano. Hi, everybody. It's so exciting to see so many girls together. I'm so psyched for all of you to be here today. Thanks. Thank you for coming, and thank you to the Wilton girls for coming all the way up from Wilton. The two girls who are on screen right now are Gopika from Hamden and Elise from Wilton, and you guys got a great wave before. Today is session number 4 of the 8 sessions for the year, and it's going to be about civic engagement, and specifically nonpartisan civic engagement. We're going to start today by meeting each other because I know you've had a little bit of socializing time, but because we've got girls from the Wilton chapter and girls from the Ridgefield chapter, we wanted to get to know each other a little bit before we start our program for today. So when you're sitting at each table, if you could introduce yourself to the other participants and mentors at the table by saying what your name is, where you're from, and what's your favorite thing to do. Okay.
I'm Sherry. I'm Sarah. Fifth grade. Okay, I'll tell you. I am Terry. I'm Charlotte.
Can you guys hear us now? Okay, so see if you say something because I think I can hear you. I heard that. All right, so what are your favorite colors?
Blue.
Gopika, what about you?
Like a dark purple or like a really dark green.
Dark purple. Oh, Gopika, is blue yours?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I saw Elise's mouth move and not yours, and blue came out of it. Okay. I think my 2 favorite colors are oddly, they've moved. Now I'm kind of it's embarrassing, but pink and yellow. I really like pink and yellow right now. All right, and what was the other question? Do you remember?
What you like to do or something?
Maybe. Is that it? Let's do that.
I kind of have 2. I like to play basically any sport or hang out with friends.
Yeah. Gopika, what about you?
I couldn't hear the question.
Oh, Elise, go ahead.
What's your favorite thing to do?
If everyone is
Oh,
sitting at has
I
had a
like
chance-
to play soccer and I like to read books.
Okay, everybody heard Gopika. She likes to play soccer and read books.
Awesome. Okay. So being session 4, we've already gone through several of our sessions for the year. We've already talked about women's history and leadership. We have engaged with local leaders and we've met some state leaders. And today's topic is civic engagement. After today, we're still going to be hearing from federal leaders. We're going to be practicing public speaking and debate, talk more about communications, learn about media. And we still have a plan to visit the state capitol in March. Hopefully we'll all be together on that day. So we talk a lot about the levels of government. And before we get into the meat of today's lesson, we want to remember who's at the top of the pyramid. Who's at the top in a democracy? Yes. The highest elected official, right, is the president. But, hi Liz. But who are all of those elected officials representing? Allison. Exactly, we the people, we're at the top. Excellent. The people are not only represented by the government, but we have a responsibility to be active citizens and engaged with the government. So today, talking about civic engagement. Does anybody have any idea what that term means? Have you ever heard the term civic engagement? Okay, no ideas? Definitely meeting, getting involved, yes?
I'm not sure. Is it like as citizens, like we help out with?
Awesome, yes.
Are there 2 mics? Let's get a mentor who wants to walk around and we'll do one on each side. Some questions. You're in charge of this side. You're in charge of this side. You might want to check his hand.
I see 2 hands in the back. Yes. I don't know your name yet.
Okay, hello, my name is Georgia, and I know I've heard the term civic engagement before. I think it was here, I'm not really sure. But I don't know what it means. Yeah,
Okay, well, we're about to
Thank
find
you.
out. Thank you, Georgia. And I love the way you introduced yourself. Thank you. Does anybody else have any ideas?
my name is Aurelia, and I think civic engagement is like helping out the community and trying, yeah.
Absolutely.
My name is Lily, and I think civic engagement is about like helping out people because you said people are at the top of the democracy.
Thank you. Yes, I love that. I see 1 hand in the very front. I think Georgia maybe has an idea now.
My name is Hannah, and I think it's cleaning up all the litter so animals won't get hurt. And well, yeah, helping out.
Helping out the town? Absolutely. Oh, and Elise has her hand up on the Zoom. Thank you, Cecilia.
I think I have an idea.
Okay.
It's engagement that is civic.
Absolutely.
It's in the name.
Yes, it is in the name, but I think we're gonna try and dive just a little bit deeper than that.
My name is Avery, and I think it's like when people come together to help your community.
I love that idea. I'll take one more. How about Elise? Elise, can you speak so we can hear you?
Yeah. I think it's like getting involved in like whatever community you have around you.
Excellent. Getting involved in whatever community you have around you. Oh, okay, last one.
Being involved with the government and engagement with community.
I think everything that we heard is correct. Everything. Thank you. Thank you all for offering your ideas. And now we have a video to clarify and go a little bit deeper.
No place on earth is perfect. Every community has a unique set of problems. Problems like corruption, pollution, unequal access to education, scarce affordable housing, hunger, or lack of quality health care. So whose job is it to solve these problems? Local government, businesses, nonprofits or NGOs, academic institutions. All of these sectors are important in a healthy society, but even if they wanted to, no single sector could solve all of a community's problems. That's why communities need individuals who are also working to solve local problems. It's called civic engagement. It's anytime someone takes action to better their community and encourages others to do it too. Authentic civic engagement is built on shared understanding of community needs and a deep commitment to collaboration. Vibrant democracies create space for and encourage civic engagement. And when people make it their priority to engage, democracy is strengthened. Civic engagement takes many forms. It can be political, but it also looks like volunteering, joining a local organization, raising money for causes you care about, or using your voice to advocate. Anyone can be a civic leader. Change happens when ordinary people show up with compassion and courage. And together, we can form a powerful force for the creation of thriving, just, and free societies.
Did that help? Yeah? That's a great video. Thanks to Mrs. Mitchell for finding that video for us. So now that you've seen a clearer definition of what civic engagement is, can you think of anything that you do in your life that is an example of civic engagement? I see a lot of hands. Savannah, do you want to? Yeah, thank you.
My name is Mila, and whenever we have clothes that don't fit us, we give them to Goodwill. My name is Charlotte. My grandfather, we support and help with a supportive cancer group.
Thank you, Charlotte.
My name is Avery, and I donate to endangered animals.
Thank you, Avery. I'm listening to all these names as you get up and speak, and I really appreciate that you're saying your names.
My
Thank you.
name is Anaya, and we have a community which basically we donate money to charity. So we do bake sales, and we gather all the money and we donate it to charity and people in need.
Thank you. Yeah, fundraising. Perfect.
Hello, I'm Charlotte, and I help put up fun events to raise money within my school to help businesses in our communities.
Thank you, Charlotte. That's a perfect example. Thank you.
My name is Taylor, and me and my grandparents, we reuse stuff if we can.
Thank you.
I think Elise has her hand raised.
Oh, Elise does too, yeah.
Like when I go on a walk with my dog, she'll like dig in her trash and she'll bring it up to our house.
My name is Elijah, and we in school, we with all the help in the school, we donate to poor people. My name is Muskan, and we have this fundraiser that gives charity to people in India. Yes, my name is Georgia, which you probably already know that because I said it already. But I recycle whenever I can, so people can make new things and so people can turn stuff into other stuff.
Thanks, Georgia.
My name's Lily, and over the summer I make a lemonade stand and donate the money.
Lily, what do you donate the money to?
I don't remember which charity. I think it was for cancer or something.
Okay. Thank you. And Elise had one. I think Elise will be the last one and then we'll move on. Elise, you want to go ahead?
So every day, me and my mom and my older sister go on a walk, and sometimes I bring like a trash bag and some gloves, and I pick up all the trash we see.
Pick up trash when you're on your daily walk. That's great. Thank you. It's so clear that you already have an idea of ways that you can engage in your community. And so many of you, even if you didn't speak, I think all of you are doing something. I know I've met all of the ones that I've met and know, I know that you are already doing great things in the community. And I love the examples that you gave today. Today we have 3 guest speakers who are going to be introduced just now by Kavya. So Kavya is one of our Ridgefield mentors. She's in the class of 2022 at Ridgefield High School. She's in the debate club. She's part of the Model UN team for Ridgefield High School. She practices martial arts and she holds a 2nd degree black belt. Those of you who were in the virtual program last year got a demonstration and got to participate in some of her martial arts activities. So she's taught karate for 6 years. This is her 3rd year as a mentor and her 2nd year on the junior board. In the Ridgefield High School, is that the symphony?
Symphonic orchestra.
Symphonic orchestra as a violist. And she loves to listen to music, calligraphy, journaling, and spending time with family and friends. So thank you, Kavya.
All right, guys, so today we have 3 guest speakers. Our first will be Laura Smits. She is the president of the League of Women Voters of Connecticut. She has been a member of the League of Women Voters since 1999, when she moved back to her home state after living in the Netherlands and upstate New York for a long time. And while she lived in Holland, she served as the president and vice president of the American Women's Club. And she was the editor and columnist for the organization's magazine, Tulip Talk. And while living in Weston, she served on the Board of Education from 2001 to 2005. And she ran for first select person in 2003 and served as a registrar of voters from 2008 to 2016. She was a freelance writer, a substitute teacher, and a creator and host of Call Me Crazy, a talk show on local radio that dealt with cultural issues. She is a certified elections moderator for the city of Norwalk and was actively involved in the Weston and Norwalk leagues prior to taking on the role of president of the state league. Next, we have Next, we have Tina Courpas. She is the Executive Director and of the Permanent Commission on the Status of Women in Connecticut. She has served as the Executive Director of the PCSW since 2018. And prior to that, she worked for 2 hedge funds. For 14 years, she worked in investment banking, and before that was a lawyer in New York. Tina has always been dedicated to issues related to women, girls, and education. She was on the Board of Trustees and the treasurer of St. Paul's School for Girls in Baltimore, Maryland. And she is on the steering committee for the Princeton Women's Leadership Initiative. She has been active on the advisory council of the Woodrow Wilson School of Princeton and the Princeton Alumni Schools Committee, and founded the Princeton Women's Network of Fairfield County. Last but not least, we have Dr. Golnar Civic. She is a doctor of naturopathic medicine, and she is the co-founder of an organization called Bridge of Hope. She is a naturopathic physician that specializes in integrative medicine. She is a member of the Columbia University Cystic Fibrosis Center and is the co-founder of a nonprofit organization called Bridge of Hope, which seeks to improve the health and life of cystic fibrosis patients in resource-limited areas of the world. She spends a great amount of time and focus on patients with cystic fibrosis and their nutritional needs. Her goal is to improve the health of individuals with cystic fibrosis by enhancing their nutritional status. And she is also the organizer of the Muslim community group that facilitates discussions and offers weekly religion classes. Awesome. So first, I just want to have each of you give a little introduction, talk about your agency, so what your agency is called and what your agency does. So, sorry.
Should I keep this on?
You can take it off if you prefer.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tina Courpas, the Executive Director of the Permanent Commission on the Status of Women in Connecticut. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. It is really inspiring to see all of you engaged in this wonderful organization. The PCSW was founded in 1973 as a state agency in Hartford, and its purpose among all of the 50 states, each of which had a women's commission founded in the 1970s, was to do research and advocate for laws in the state house that would affect women. And even though Connecticut in population is 29th among the 50 states, at one point, the Women's Commission in Connecticut was the largest in the country. In 2016, the Permanent Commission, even though its name is permanent, was made impermanent and cut out of the state budget. And the commissioners, who are a group of very dedicated and fascinating, hardworking women, decided they wanted its work to continue and reincorporated it as a nonprofit. That was in 2016. I joined in 2018 as executive director to continue the commission's work. So what we do today is what our purpose has been all along. We do research related to women and use that to support legislation to make women's lives better, women and girls' lives better in Connecticut. We are a bipartisan organization, and this is a very important part of who we are. We really try to stick to the facts that support legislation on both sides of the aisle, and therefore we view ourselves as a very inclusive women's organization that really covers the entire umbrella of the political spectrum. Thank you again for having me.
So if that's okay with you, I'll keep my mask on because, I work and I don't want to, put anybody in danger of, God forbid, contacting COVID virus. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. And it's so wonderful to see girls from, different schools and high schools and, various ages. So what I do is I work with the cystic fibrosis team. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic. First of all, does anybody know what cystic fibrosis is? What is it?
Isn't it when you have like mucus in your lung?
Exactly. Absolutely, yes. And do you know anybody with cystic fibrosis? So how did you know about this? Oh, excellent. Good job. Yeah, because it's a very orphan disease. It's about 30,000 individual in America with cystic fibrosis. So it's not something, it's not cancer, it's not MS that you hear all about it. So beside how I work and what I do here, I have an organization by name of Bridge of Hope. So we bring children from third world countries, or better to say, unfortunate countries that they don't have the medications, or their physicians are not really aware of the disease. So this disease, as I said, it's genetics, and the person is involved from childhood. Lots of mucus in the lungs, in the GI system. They might get CF diabetes, osteoporosis. So it's a very difficult disease, and the treatment is about 3 hours every single day. So it's like putting a tar in your lungs, and they have to get that out of the lungs. So I'm sure that you can't even hold your breath for more than a minute. So these children, have to work hard to breathe hard. So it's a difficult disease. But thank God we have the modulators in this country for these patients. So what I do is we bring children from countries like Guatemala, Ecuador, Georgia, Iran, where else? Trinidad. So they apply to our program. So they get accepted, and we bring them here for duration of 2 weeks, and everything is pro bono. And then they go back, they're in contact with us through WhatsApp, email, and now with the Zoom till the following year. So since COVID, we haven't had a lot of application. We had a lot of application, but we haven't had a chance to bring anybody here. So if anybody has a question, you can ask me later. If not, I'll pass it.
Okay. Am I on? Is this on? Hello. Oh, great. Thanks for having me. I'm Laura Smits. I'm the president of the Connecticut chapter of the League of Women Voters of the United States. Our organization was started over 100 years ago when women fought to get and win the right to vote. And once that happened, women realized that all of the organizing that took place across the country was already in place. So it's like, what can we do with this organization? We have all these women, they're all excited to be here, they all want to vote, but now what do we do with them all? So it was decided that we create an organization with chapters in every state to basically educate the 5 million women that became voters. And a lot of them didn't have knowledge, and nobody understood. We were talking about civic engagement, what it meant to be a citizen of the United States when you have the power to vote. So their task was not only to register women, but also to educate them about the issues in a nonpartisan way. It was incredibly important to us, and it still is today, to make sure that we are nonpartisan. We don't talk about candidates, we talk about issues, and issues that affect mostly women's lives, but everybody's lives. We started out by caring about children and caring about education, because that was basically women's role. Now, when we won the vote in 1920, not all women were allowed to vote. It was basically white, rich women who were allowed to vote. People who were poor women and women of color were not in the mix, not until the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Then everybody could vote by then. All women could vote, no matter what they look like or whatever. So that was the good news. And we have spent most of the past 100 years expanding that, making sure that no voter is disenfranchised, that everyone who's a citizen understands what it is to vote, how they can vote, where to go. So we spent a lot of time during the election season bringing candidates debates, both sides, all parties, and as well as telling people, making sure they understand where do I go to vote? How do I register to vote? You think these things are simple. And frankly, if I had my way, automatic citizen, you're a citizen, automatically you can vote. All you have to do is show where you live. But that's my fantasy. We're not quite there yet. So over years, we have tried to enfranchise, bring people into that, and make sure that everyone understands to vote. We have 25 chapters, local leagues in the state of Connecticut. And across the country, there are many leagues in many states. We have our major organization is housed in Washington, D.C. And about a few weeks ago, I don't know if you've all heard of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Have you heard about the Voting Rights Act that's going on? A lot of voting rights have been suppressed all across the country. I'm sure you've heard about other states that basically make it difficult for people to vote so that they can control who gets to vote, which is not very democratic. So we've been working very hard to get the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. He was a major civil rights leader, passed away recently, and he was injured on the bridge in Selma, Alabama, trying to fight for voting rights for Black people. So he was a very important person, and we named the Voting Rights Act after him because he died recently before it happened. So that is still going on, and we are actually right now at this moment fighting for them to bring the Freedom to Vote Act as well as the John Lewis Voting Rights Act to the Senate, trying to keep them from going home for Christmas so that they'll do something about it, so that whatever changes we have, we need federal legislation on elections. Right now, every state does their own thing. And that's kind of how we got into trouble. That's how you hear about states like Georgia, states like Texas and Arizona. They have all of these things that prevent people from voting. Whereas in Connecticut, we're very lucky, we're very progressive, and we want to encourage everybody to vote. We still have work to do. We have to work on no excuse absentee ballots and things like that. So what we're trying to do is make sure that when people feel empowered when they have information. If they don't have the information, they tend to disengage. So by engaging people and giving them information, it gives them power and they feel confident and they'll cast a vote. And our dream is to have everybody who can vote, vote in an easy way, as opposed to the kind of suppression that goes on in other states with not polling places being closed, you need to show a photo ID, all of these kinds of things basically disenfranchise people and discourage them from voting. And if we don't have a representative democracy, if everybody doesn't vote, the way our country will look is basically the people who show up get to decide what our country looks like, and that's not fair. So that's what we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. So now we're going to be breaking up into small groups. Or would you like to? Do you have the instructions? Yeah, it's here. So you guys each have a little packet, and on the top there should be a letter A, B, or C, and that is for group. So you're going to go to the corner, which has the letter that corresponds with your group. And each of our guest speakers will come around to you. So we're gonna have, not yet. So each of the speakers are going to rotate to each of the three groups, and you have a set of questions for each speaker. So you guys are going to answer based on the information you get from them. So you're going to take your sheets and your clipboards with you. Make sure you have a pen, and then everyone's going to have the opportunity to ask a question, listen to each other, listen to the person you are interviewing, get down as much information as you can, and when you hear the buzzer, we're going to have our speakers rotate to the next station. Now you guys can go.
Well, would you like to pick a station to start?
Sure.
Wonderful. We'll have the speaker up sitting in a chair, and then the girls can sit sort of on the floor around. Yeah. Whoever is in this station A, we're trying to make sure that the girls who are Zooming can be engaged as well. So do you want to just stay here,
Sure.
Laura, and then?
Sounds good to me.
Thank you. All right, I will turn this off so that. Okay.
All right.
Ladies.
Gals.
How are you?
I always say guys, but I've been corrected by someone because of the ERA. They say gals, and I'm like, gals, that's what my grandfather used to say. That's not what that's. You guys are great.
I thought you said guy.
Yeah, no, I said that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Not guys.
Yeah, take a seat.
I'll
pull some chairs.
Just say guys.
Oh,
I know, you don't think about it.
yeah, I'm just.
But I have there's one of our members who's very, very nice about the equal rights amendment.
Yeah, we have a writing pencil. Oh, you need one? Okay. Oh, there's a back part.
And you guys are girls, right? This is okay.
Elise
Wow. People.
Lisa's dog.
No, I was on a Zoom call this afternoon, and right at the end, my cat showed up. Not only did she show up, she started like attacking me right at the end. And I said, well, it wouldn't be a Zoom call without a cat. So they cut right off as she was like doing this. It was like right out of a bad movie.
Oh, here's a marker. Does that one not work? Oh, it's very light.
Oh, yeah, can I have your marker?
Oh, you need a marker? We need darker color. That one also doesn't show up? Yeah,
Nice
it's too
clipboard.
light. Don't worry. Okay, good, perfect.
Oh, yeah. And I also need a marker.
Do you have your pen?
There's like the magic markers. I think that's why some of them are.
Oh. Okay, guys, who wants to ask the first question?
You guys have your questions there.
Yeah.
So make sure you have your speaker down. Who's speaking?
Who's speaking? Where name? Laura.
All right, guys, if you haven't opened to the second page of your packet with all the questions, you should probably do that. You can write down. Yeah. All right, so you have your questions. Who's gonna ask?
Okay, Charlotte, want to start?
Yeah.
How did you get involved in the organization?
I got involved in the organization because I was a mom who was staying at home with 2 children. And I realized very early on that I was not nearly as excited about being a school PTA mom. That's not for everyone. Believe it or not, that's not for everyone. So a friend of mine said, you know, you're very outspoken, you're very passionate. Perhaps you should go find some other thing to do. So they said, you should try the League of Women Voters because they're all about politics and other things besides just children. They care about children, but it was like not the main focus. So that's what I did. I went to find the League of Women Voters so I can get involved in politics, basically.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Did we get that?
Keep it going, right?
Guys, we don't have a lot of time, so
Yeah.
who wants to ask?
Oh, yeah. Why did you choose to do this work?
Because I like politics. I'm very interested in how our country is run. I grew up in a family of boys. I was the first girl in 4 generations. And I was always told that I had a very big mouth. And that as a girl, I was not supposed to do that. I was supposed to be quiet and look nice and not get involved. So I did the opposite of what I was told to do.
When I don't know if you guys are done writing, whoever's done writing can say, ask a question. You have to ask them in like order.
So the question is, what did you do before? What did you do before that prepared you for this?
Well, I went to college, got some knowledge. It's very important. Knowledge is power, right? And I found my voice in college. I found that I could speak publicly without flipping out, which was apparently not something everybody can do. I was a very good writer. I was a big reader when I was a kid. I read a lot of books. So I became a writer. And I got into the world of advertising and public relations. And I became a corporate spokesperson. So I got a lot of everything I did was basically about oral and written communications. When I was in school, like I said, I read a lot of books. You know how sometimes, I don't know if they still do this, but in the summertime, the libraries let you take 10 books out or some like crazy number. I was that person who took 10 books out and read them all and wish I had more. So I was a big reader, and that's how my family life was a little shaky. And I found that I could escape into books. Books engage your brain in ways TV does not. For example, right, when you see a TV show, somebody else has decided what that person's going to look like in that role. Somebody else has decided what it's going to look like. When you read a book, you're creating those characters in your head, and you get to decide what they look like and where they go.
Yeah, like I read this book called That kid was a boy, but when I read it again, I realized it was a girl.
Oh. Well, see, that's a good point, because when I was younger, there were most of the characters in most of the books were boys, right? There were Nancy Drew and there were a couple of others, but most of the characters in movies and books were really not girls and ladies, women. They were mostly boys and men. So you had to kind of translate that for yourself and how to make that work for you. Okay.
Did you engage in public or civic work when you were in school?
I did. I demonstrated. I protested against pornography on campus. I took back the night. I don't know if you ever heard about this, but back in my day in the cities, a lot of women were being attacked on the street. It wasn't safe to be a woman on the street. Nowadays, they have blue lights on the streets, campuses and stuff like that. But we used to go out at night, take our banners and protest about why the police weren't protecting us.
We have a question on Zoom. Valentina was wondering how long you've been a writer.
I've been a writer my whole life. Starting with like little stories. I used to put on little plays at home for my brothers. And so it's one of those things where you kind of have to do it. It's definitely a lifelong thing.
So where do you go to college?
I went to Northeastern University in Boston.
Wow, that's awesome. I just had a friend that is going there.
The thing that's great about it, it's like a city campus. So you get to do the city plus a campus. Northeastern University. Northeastern, right, Northeastern.
For nursing.
Oh.
It's a big nursing school. Right?
Yeah, very good.
It's really, it's got a lot, it's a huge campus. University, it's a university.
One more question, guys? Yeah.
Why is the issue?
I'm sorry, what?
Why is the issue?
Well, because it's basically, when you're a citizen, there are certain responsibilities as citizens of this country that we have. And one of the things is to learn about what's necessary to keep our cities and towns going. It's important to start local, stay with your own neighborhood, your own town. And then once you get beyond that, if you grow your network of people, the more people that are in on a problem, the problem gets solved a lot faster. Many hands make light work.
So we have a question on Zoom.
Sure.
Valentina, you can go ahead and unmute.
What is one book that you wrote?
I did not write a book. I was an essay writer, like nonfiction essays.
What? Yeah, I mean, like, what essay? Yeah, right. What was one essay you wrote?
Well, let's see if you've heard of I don't know if you've ever heard of my work. I recently wrote a blog about nonpartisanship for the League of Women Voters. But before that, I wrote personal columns about when I lived in Holland, what it was like to be an American in another country, where it's a very different, like you go to the supermarket in a foreign country, right? And the American section is this big. And it consists of Oreos, Skippy peanut butter, and Kraft mac and cheese. And that's what America eats.
That's where it's at.
So I wrote kind of like what it felt like to be a foreigner abroad kind of thing.
That is very interesting.
Just two. That was enough. That was enough.
What is one memorable experience about your job?
One of the fun things in my job when I was in public relations, I used to travel across the country and go on local talk shows and talk about diamond jewelry. And it was a lot of fun. You know, I was like a whopping 24 years old and I got to be on like, you know, the local equivalent of Good Morning America.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
It was cool. It was very scary, but it was very cool.
Yeah, it's good to go out of your comfort zone, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the good thing. You definitely have to go out of your comfort zone.
The buzzers
Buzzer
are
off.
So we're gonna have all the girls are gonna
Do I stay?
here. All the girls are gonna stay.
Fine.
Girls are gonna jump up and down. Oh yeah, we're gonna do some exercises, guys. Let's do some
Okay.
stretches. All right, let's do some stretches. Everyone
Thank you,
stand up.
ladies.
Put your pens down. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just you can go down. Sorry. How are you? You should be.
Respectful.
All right, let's do some stretches. All right,
course,
I
with
have
the
got this
practice.
All right, guys, press your song.
Oh,
You know what, I think yeah, so you our next thing, so we should do the chicken dance for our next little break. Asking about that the other day.
Okay, guys, we have our next speaker.
Right now.
Hey girls, how are you? Hi. Okay, we only have 10 minutes, so maybe we should start right away, right? Okay. My name is Golnar, Golnar. Nar, Golnar. Perfect. Great. So, okay, who wants to go first? Ask me a question.
Go ahead. Is your role paid or unpaid? Wait,
Okay, sorry, what's your name?
Charlotte,
Charlotte? Oh, okay, go ahead, Charlotte.
is your role paid or not?
See, when we bring patients from different countries, right? Sick children from different countries, we do not get paid. We don't charge them. So everything is pro bono. Do you know what pro bono is? Meaning that work for free, right? So we give our time and our advice, medical knowledge, all for free. Otherwise, these people, they're poor. They can't even afford to come to this country. So we help them with the airline, with a ticket to get to this country. We help them with housing. When they come for 10 days, we help them with grocery. So the interfaith of Wilton, do you know what interfaith is? Does anybody know interfaith? So interfaith is a group of people in Wilton from different religions. So give me one religion that you know.
India?
A religion.
Religion?
Religion.
Religion?
Religion is like
Oh, yeah. Hindu?
Hindu, perfect. What else?
Well, I know Christian and Jewish.
Excellent. What else? So what am I? From this, what do you think I am? Muslim, perfect, perfect. So the interfaith, whenever you hear interfaith, meaning that the group of people from different religion, they get together, they work for good of something, right? So we have a group of interfaith people in Wilton, so they help us with the housing. They help us with food to be delivered to these patients, right? And then, so everything otherwise is free. Their medication is free. We pay for all their blood work, for everything that they need for free. So that's why when they apply to the program, they go through a process, we accept them, and when they come is a commitment, right? So they have to follow through. When they leave this country, they have to be in contact with us at least for a whole year with texting, with emailing, till we bring them back in a year. Yes.
If this isn't too much to ask, how do you find the money to fund all this?
Excellent question. So how do you think you find the money? Yes, fundraising, exactly. We have not done any major fundraising because my husband and I, we both made this, we are the founder of this not-for-profit foundation. We are very, very busy, but we have good friends, relatives, family members, and us. We help to finance, we support this, right? COVID happened. We were hoping to have a good fundraising last year. It didn't happen. So maybe next year, we'll do some fundraising. So we'll be able to bring more kids from different countries. So who knows what countries that, because I mentioned, where, yeah, we're going to bring from Africa, hopefully. Guatemala, Georgia, excellent. Africa, no, hopefully soon. Iran, yes, of course. Estonia, no, Georgia. Actually, we are going to bring a patient from Romania in June, yes. So, and then what else? Yes, sir. Excellent, yes, perfect. Okay, go with the third question, please.
How much time do you spend on this work every day, week or month?
See, I have a group of wonderful volunteers, right? So these volunteer people do not charge us, right? So they do it as a goodness of their heart. Some of them are the mother of kids with cystic fibrosis. So they help us with all the communication, with all the emailing back and forth. But when the patients come here, we spend usually the first day is 2 hours appointment. Then after that, the second session is an hour appointment. The third session is another hour. So I would say, we spend about 5 hours with each patient in 10 days that they come from, from overseas. Okay, any more questions? Yes.
So what does your work help them?
See if you remember when I said cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease, right? So basically, we help these children to get the right treatment. We educate them, educate the moms or dads that they accompany this patient. So by the way, the patient can only come with one mom or dad, right? Because we cannot afford financially to bring the whole family here for 10 days. So what happens is we give them medication, we do all their blood work, and we give them the right treatment, education, so they can take it back to their country and see if their local doctors are willing to work with us, collaborate with us. Sorry, guys.
We have a question online, so at least you can go ahead and unmute.
What's the hardest part of treating these children?
Well, you know what? The hardest part is, think about this. These children, they come from a totally different country, right? When they come here, there is no support system. So it's just me, my husband, and our team, right? So it's really difficult to bring people from totally different culture. Language is always a barrier because a lot of them, they don't speak English. So we always have a translator. So it's really, really difficult to bond with them, at first, because they've never seen us, right? They come for the hope of their children to get better, right? I mean, if you think about it, we are so lucky living in this country. We have the medication, we have the new medication for this disease. When they come here, they're so desperate. So it is hard at first, but it's very rewarding at the end when they get to know you, when you can talk to them. I mean, of course, through translator, you become part of their life. So that becomes very rewarding. Sorry, what is it? How do we build the community? Where is that question?
How does it build a community?
How does it build the community? You know what? It is a community work because remember we talked about the interfaith of Wilton, right? So the interfaith of Wilton helps us. The volunteers, the moms, we have a mom from New Jersey. We have a mom from Weston. So we all come together as a community, right? To help with one goal, these kids get better, right? So they can breathe better. So it is really a community work if you think about it, right? Because the families that are living in Wilton don't even know them, but they welcome them to their homes. They provide them food, transportation to our office in Stamford, back and forth. So it's such a community work, and you get to know other people's culture, religion, food, everything, right?
What do you personally get out of it?
Sorry?
What do you personally get out of it?
Personally, what do I get out of it? Well, it's a very good question. It's a lot of satisfaction, right? Number one is I was born and raised in Iran. So I left Iran when I was 17, went to Australia, came here, got married, education here. So I really want to basically help out other kids from other countries that they don't have the same opportunity that I had to come to this country. Number one. Number two is these families, they become part of your own family. I mean, I get Christmas card, I get Hanukkah card, from these families that we don't even speak a language, right? They go through Google Translate. They all have my private cell phone number through WhatsApp. I created a WhatsApp for them since 5 years ago. So there are about 100 patients from different parts of the world that are in constant communication with us. And it is such a wonderful, wonderful thing, because then you know what? Then it helps you not to be a selfish person. It's not about me, right? It's about you look at other people, how sometimes fortunate, unfortunate they are, right? So it just allows you to count the blessing of God, right? Can somebody relate to this? Right? You can all relate to this somehow. Mhm. Yes.
This isn't on the page, but I do want to know, would you consider your job to be would you consider it to be stressful?
You know what? Yeah, jobs are stressful, right? From the minute that this family comes, I get very stressed out because I want to make sure that they are fed okay, they are okay in this country, they're not afraid, they're not scared, everything is going the way it should be till the time that we put them in the airport. They say goodbye, so I can just breathe like, okay, great, success, move on. Yes, it is a stressful, but it's a good stress. It's not a bad stress, If it was a bad stress, we would stop, not bring anybody here again, right? Sure. Excellent question. Oh, this was so wonderful, girls. This was a wonderful group. Thank you. Thank you. This was wonderful. Sure.
Wait, what?
Did you say I will have a quick question?
Why is the issue important?
Why is the issue important? Because I work with the CF population in this country, right? So I want to give the same opportunity. I'm hoping that the kids from other countries will have the more or less same opportunity as kids here to educate them about their disease. Thank you, girls. This was great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Are we?
We're going to be. Yeah.
Okay. One last stretch.
Okay, do you want to do a chicken dance? Does everybody know how to do that? No? Come on now. No, we gotta chicken dance. Yeah.
All right, so let's.
Yes.
Okay, now you guys are, Elisa's still raising her hand. Did she get her question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. It's like a big camp out. There's bodies everywhere. There you go.
Thank you. I'm wearing pants.
Apologies about that. Because we normally have the tablecloth.
I didn't say for that.
Okay, so the ones on the screen, you can hear them through that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is anyone taking that now?
All right, you guys know what you're doing? Yeah. Excellent.
Hi, ladies. How's everyone doing? The grand finale, the last group, right?
Save the best for last.
Okay.
Who wants to start, guys?
Sorry about your first name.
Yes. Thank you. You got it right.
My dog's name is Tina.
Your dog's name is Tina?
I love
Oh,
that
I'm
for a
honored.
Dog name.
That's so nice.
Hannah, want to ask first question?
How do you raise, how do you get other people involved in your work of your organization? How do you get more volunteers?
This is a really important thing. You all probably know this from working in groups. Getting good people to work in your organization is almost the most important thing, probably is the most important thing you do, because once you have great people, you feel like you can accomplish anything. And until you have those people, you just can't get the scale. You just can't get, any kind of really scale for the work that you're doing. So how did I start that when I started the nonprofit PCSW? I went to a local girls' school in my town that has a great career network. And I advertised there. And so for a while, we got interns that had been, had graduated from the school. It's called Greenwich Academy, and were post-college. And they didn't necessarily, they were looking for just really good work experience. And we didn't have any money to pay them in the beginning, so they worked for free. And these interns were amazing. And I've had 7 interns like this since we started the PCSW. We've also advertised on Idealist, Indeed, Handshake, all the women's studies offices in the colleges across Connecticut. We have a lot of colleges in Connecticut. UConn Office of Career Services, word of mouth, pretty much anywhere and everywhere. Anywhere I go, if someone's interested in our work, I see if there's anyone who's interested in working for us. Yes.
How would you say you raise awareness?
I have learned a lot about raising awareness in this job. I think that today raising awareness is, in addition to the old ways of being active and out and about in the community, like we testify at the Connecticut General Assembly on bills that we support. So when people see us and we give substantive testimony, it helps us to become recognized. I try to speak as many places as I can so that people learn about us and the work that we're doing. When we wrote this report on the economic impact of COVID on Connecticut's women, this is original research we did, surveying women in Connecticut and doing focus groups. We then took this document on the road and we presented it as many places as we could to raise awareness of our findings. And then finally, one thing I think I've learned a tremendous amount about is social media. This is why young people like you all, I feel like I have so much to learn from you because this is like your native terrain. And it's not my native terrain. And I feel like a sponge. I learned so much about how to present us in a way that keeps us fresh and young and current and bite-sized and, sound bites and all of that. So that is, I don't think today you could run a company without having an amazing social media presence. And you all are a very attractive tool to hire for that because it's almost instinctual for you all.
All right, Elise, I'm gonna call on you now.
What's your favorite and least favorite part of your job?
So let's get the bad one out of the way first. The least favorite part of the job, I would say, having grown up professionally in organizations that are really big institutions, like I worked for Goldman Sachs, I worked for Credit Suisse, I worked for a law firm. You have like a lot of layers doing stuff for you. Like you have someone who can crank out a PowerPoint for you. You have you have like the copier works always, things like that. When you're an entrepreneur, it all backs up to you. So you have to do all of those things. And sometimes it's hard to get leverage when you're trying to do something at this level or this level, and you're like, the ink is falling from the printer. So I think that the leanness of the organization in the nonprofit world is challenging. And we've tried a lot of fixes and we've come a long way in how to make ourselves more efficient. The best part of the job, I would say, is its creativity. When you are in this space and there are a million different directions you could head, are we going to work on pay equity? Are we going to work on the impact of COVID on Connecticut's women? How are we going to assess the impact of COVID on Connecticut's women? It's a blank slate. So we use all the resources at our disposal. We have a social science professor on our board, and we knew we were capable of doing social science research with her expertise. So we pulled her in and had her help us write the questions. We looked all across the country. We did research on others that had done a project like this, and we figured out the best things. We talked to the Massachusetts Commission. We talked to the Maryland Commission. We talked to the Sonoma County Commission. So it was a very creative process, and it could have looked any way we wanted it to look. And by virtue of the team that we were and everyone's take on how it could be the best, we created something de novo that without the PCSW being there in that moment would not have existed. And I just find that creative process to be so exciting because, again, whereas if you work in a big institution, the copier works always, but your job is circumscribed by what your job function is. When you work in these areas where kind of you're trying to change anything about the world that you view as a need in any way that is the most effective, the creative process is just a lot of fun.
The partner you work with or partner with other organizations?
Yes, we do. We are part of this organization called the Connecticut Collective for Women and Girls, which is you all may be in it. If you're not, you should be in it, Mr. President. I think you are though, which is a loose configuration of a lot of the women's policy and other kinds of nonprofits in the state of Connecticut. And we work together all the time. In fact, we have a list of like 25 of those organizations in our report that helped us write it. So it really, you know, if you don't know something and someone has the best practices, you just call up that person and they can help you figure out how to do something better. When we are trying to testify on pieces of legislation, we get together as a group. And if there's 50 organizations that come and testify on a bill, it has a lot more scale and power than if we're the lone ranger out there just testifying on, you know, in support of a bill that we think should be passed. So it's really important for us to partner with other organizations, and it enhances our learning a lot.
Time is up. Sorry, ladies. All right, if everyone could please gather in the back by the Ms. President sign, including our speakers, please.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure, girls. Really great.
Put your papers and your markers down where you're sitting. Yeah, we can go back.
Yeah. Thank you. Gather towards the back for a photo with our guests.
Okay, so I'm gonna spell Sherry since it's my name.
Ladies, I heard some really excellent journalistic questions going on. And really, you paid so much attention, you asked such great questions. I heard a lot of new questions that weren't on this sheet. You were so engaged with our speakers, and I'm really excited for what we saw today. So we have a number of questions at the bottom of the sheet, which you can think about mostly at home, but there are two in particular that we're gonna think through together. What did you find most interesting or even surprising? Just a couple of ideas. What are some things that you found really interesting or surprising about what the speakers had to say today?
They mostly started off like volunteered and then they only got paid like afterwards.
They had a deep motivation internally, right? Yeah, excellent. Okay.
So my person, like the last one I did was Dr. Golnar. And it was like she said they tried to get like 2 patients in like a month, which like I found that interesting and it surprised me because like they seem like the sickness thing that they work with is like really bad for some people, and they only do like 2, which is also I think like the best they can do. So that's why I found it interesting.
That is super interesting. And I think with a lot of the issues that people are challenged by, right? A lot of these issues that are going to be important to you that you're drawn to, maybe what you can do seems small because the need is so big, right? But if we work together, we can have a greater impact. Huh?
My name is Neil, and something that I found interesting was that the people with that disease, I forget what it was called.
Cystic fibrosis.
Yeah, that like in America, like it's not likely and stuff, and we're very fortunate. But in other countries, it's like really serious, and they have less like hospitals and medicine that can take care of them.
Absolutely. It was interesting perspective to hear that, huh? Ladies, I'm going to move on to one more question now, okay? Because we only have 2 minutes left. So the question that I would like to ask you is hiding. These are things you can think about at home while the clickers. Okay. How do you see civic engagement playing an important role in your community? In other words, what can you do? Lily, I see your hand. Back.
In my neighborhood, like a couple times a year, they do this thing where you go around getting like a bag of trash and then you get a ticket and you can win a raffle or something.
Do you see it making a difference?
Yeah, because it looks cleaner afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we in school we don't only give the poor, we also give people who have houses, but they don't really have food and stuff.
So there's still a lot of need, huh? Okay, last one.
We give clothes that we don't need to Goodwill.
So civic engagement is important in all of our communities. And one thing that I'd like you to take home with you as a seed in your brain is that there are so many different ways we can be involved. And there is a way for you to be involved too. So you can think about what that might be. and maybe develop it into a platform when you decide to run for as president. Okay. So we try to finish up with an inspirational quote and leave you with something amazing. Today's quote is from a lady named Jess Ekstrom, who founded Headbands of Hope, which is a company that she started when she was in college. And for every headband that they sell, a headband is given to a child with cancer. The company has been featured all over TV and the news and in magazines and things. Headbands of Hope has donated over 1 million headbands, reaching every single children's hospital in the US and 22 countries. It's amazing. So Jess Ekstrom said this as a reminder, our ideas don't have to be revolutionary to matter. We don't have to create the next big disruptive thing that changes the course of humanity in order to create something really, really good. So, thank you for being here. Our next session is going to be January 7th. You guys were terrific journalists today, and we look forward to seeing you after the holidays.
And don't forget when you check out, take everything with you, but you also